Hi everyone, this is Sarfahan. Let's start um, AS level paper 2 of October-November 2025, variance 22. Let's talk about question number 1. Manganese is a transition element and its compounds are widely used in many chemical reactions. Manganese has a symbol of Mn, is usually found as a single isotope, manganese 55. So that's the isotope, by the way. And what are isotopes? Isotopes have same number of protons and electrons but different number of neutrons. But different number of neutrons. Okay. So determine the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons in an atom of manganese 55. In order to determine the composition of proton, neutron, and electron, uh, we need to know about the atomic number of manganese. And for that, let's move on to the periodic table. Um, I think it's going to be 25. Manganese is 25. Yes, that's 25. Okay. So manganese has an atomic number of 25. So we know the mass number. So when we have uh, atomic number of 25, which means it has 25 protons and obviously 25 electrons. When we subtract 55 from 25, I'll get number of neutrons. So the number of neutrons is going to be 30. All right. Well, that's define isotope. And that's what I've done here. So it has only one mark. So you can write same number of protons and electrons, but different number of neutrons. But different number of neutrons. A sample of manganese from the moon is found to contain manganese 53 in addition to manganese 55. That's manganese 53 is another isotope of manganese. State two pieces of information needed to determine the relative atomic mass of manganese in this sample. In order to determine the relative atomic mass of manganese, uh, we need to know the mass of each isotope and also the percentage abundance of each isotope. All right. So relative isotopic mass and relative abundance of isotopes. I hope it makes sense to you. Let's move on to the B part. The shorthand electronic configuration of manganese is this. That's what we have done in the class. All right. Complete the full electronic configuration of manganese in terms of sp notation. So it's going to be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, and then 3p6, and then 3d and 4s2. Now the next part is deduce the total number of unpaired electrons in an atom of manganese. In order to determine the total number of unpaired electrons, we need to write the shorthand electronic configuration in terms of a spin format. So let me write down the spin configuration of manganese. Manganese has an atomic number of 25. Instead of 18 electrons, I'm writing argon. Now D subshell has 5d orbitals, so we need to make 5 boxes. And 4s has only 1 box. Now 4s contain 2 electrons and 3d contain 5 electrons. So that means in this 3d subshell, we have total 5 unpaired electrons. So I'm going to write 5. Okay. So these are the 5 unpaired electrons of manganese. Okay. Unpaired electrons means single electrons. Okay. Let's move on to the next part of the question. Part C. Manganese 4 oxide has a formula of MnO2 reacts with methanol. Methanol is basically an aldehyde. We have discussed this in carbonyl compounds. It has a formula of HCOH. It belongs to an aldehyde family, or in other words, we can say it is the first member of aldehyde family. This methanol is also called formaldehyde. In acidic condition, to produce carbon dioxide, the movement of electrons to or from relevant species is shown in the following half cell equations. This is going to be the oxidation process. This is going to be the reduction process. Identify the species that is reduced in half cell equation 2. So hydrogen ion has a +1 charge here. Hydrogen ion has a +1 charge in water molecule as well. So there is no change in oxidation state of hydrogen on both reactant and product side. On the other hand, manganese 4 oxide has an oxidation state of +2. +4. All right. Whereas here the oxidation state of manganese is +2, which means in the half equation 2 or in the half cell equation, second half cell equation, manganese is going to be reduced. All right. Or manganese 4 oxide. So I'm going to write manganese 4 oxide. Gains electron during the reaction, which is why its oxidation state decreases, which is why it undergoes reduction. The oxidation state of carbon in methanol is 0. Calculate the oxidation state of carbon in carbon dioxide. The formula of carbon dioxide is CO2. Let's suppose carbon is X. Oxygen has a charge of -2 because oxygen is found in group 16 of the periodic table. We have 2 oxygen atom into 2. Since CO2 is a neutral molecule, it has no overall charge, which is why it is equals to 0. Then X equals to +4. Okay. Construct an ionic equation for the reaction of manganese 4 oxide with methanol in acidic condition. Um, We have done this sort of equation in the class, especially in carbonyl compounds in alcohol. And that's also called ion electron equation. So what we can do is we need to write both the equations. All right. We need to write both the equations. Let me write it down. Let me copy these two equations. Yeah. All right. Let me write it down, these two equations here. My bad. That's not a good idea. Let me write it down. This is my bad. This is CH2O plus H2O. This is CO2 plus 4 hydrogen ion plus 4 electron. And this is MnO2 plus 4 hydrogen ion plus 2 electron. That's give you Mn2 plus 2 H2O. So in order to balance the equation, we need to balance the number of electrons first. So we have 4 electrons here, we have 2 electrons here. So to balance the number of electrons, we need to multiply this equation by 2. As soon as the number of electrons are balanced after multiplying the equation, we need to cancel them out. All right. Look at the hydrogen ions. We have 4 hydrogen ions here, we have 8 hydrogen ions here. They will cancel out with each other also. We have 4 water molecule here, we have 1 water molecule here. So water molecule can cancel out with each other also. That means after cancellation, hydrogen ion and water molecule and electrons, whatever left on the reactant side, on the product side, we need to write that. And that's what we have done in ion electron equations in redox reactions, and especially in organic chemistry also. So the remaining species is going to be CH2O, which is methanol, plus 4 hydrogen ion left after cancellation, plus 2 MnO2 arrow, 2 Mn2 plus, plus carbon dioxide, plus 3 water molecule. When we cancel 1 water molecule from 4, it's going to be 3. So let me check. We need to balance the charge. We have 4 plus charge here. We have 2 times 2, 4 plus charge here. So charges are balanced on both the sides. Let me check the oxygen atom. 2 times 2, 4. 4 oxygen plus 1, 5 oxygen. We have 2 plus 3, 5. Manganese 2 moles, manganese 2 moles, carbon 1 mole, carbon 1 mole. Let me check hydrogen atom. We have 4 hydrogen here, 2 hydrogen here. So total 6 hydrogen on the reactant side. We have 6 hydrogen on the product side. I believe that's the chemical equation. That's the answer, but I don't know why examiner has been removed this specific part from the paper. I don't know the logic. I don't know the reason. So we have discussed this part in the theory classes. I believe you should know about that, all right? But as per examiner instruction, they have been removed this part from the question paper. I don't know the logic and reason, because that's very easy. That's a scoring part. That's a scoring answer. Okay, that's the end of question number 1. Let me start question number 2. This question belongs to period 3 elements. Period 3 elements show trends in physical and chemical properties across the period. Explain why elements sodium to aluminum are good electrical conductors. Well, sodium to aluminum, these elements have electrons, delocalized electrons, also called free mobile electrons. So these elements have delocalized electrons in the crystal lattice. All right, which is why they are good electrical conductors. Explain why element phosphorus, sulfur, and chlorine do not conduct electricity. By the way, phosphorus, sulfur, and chlorine are not metals. They are technically non-metals, which is why they don't have free mobile electrons. They don't have delocalized electrons, uh, which is why they cannot conduct electricity. Phosphorus, sulfur, and chlorine are non-metals. So, due to the absence of delocalized electrons, cannot conduct electricity. Okay. Now, this figure 2.1 shows the variation in the melting point of period 3 elements silicon to chlorine. Now, silicon has the highest melting point. Then phosphorus has a lower one. Sulfur has slightly higher. Chlorine is lower than both phosphorus and sulfur. All right, and that's what we have done in the class also. We have made this sketch regarding this melting point of period 3 elements. Well, melting point of period 3 elements, silicon to chlorine are all non-metals. Explain why. There is a large difference between melting point of silicon and the melting point of phosphorus, sulfur, and chlorine. By the way, sulfur. By the way, I've told you in the class that whenever examiner is looking for the melting point or boiling point explanation, we need to give that explanation in terms of structure and bonding. Excuse me. Which is why we need to write that silicon has giant structure, giant molecular structure, in fact, with lots of strong covalent bonds. So more energy is needed to break such bonds. All right. Uh, Phosphorus, sulfur, and chlorine has simple molecular structure, covalent structure with weak van der Waals forces, less energy is required to break such forces. Okay. Let's move on to the next part of the question. Table 2.1 gives some information about some period 3 chlorides. Rho B refers to the pH of the solution that forms when the period 3 chloride is added to water. Okay, complete table 2.1. You may use the following observation: ionic, covalent, metallic, giant, simple. Okay, so complete the table 2.1. Okay. Uh, Oxidation number of sodium and sodium chloride is going to be +1. In magnesium chloride, +2. In aluminum chloride is going to be +3. This is going to be +4, and this is going to be +5. Well, in class, I have told you oxidation number of chloride increases because of the increase in the number of valence electrons. All right. I hope it makes sense to you. Whenever sodium chloride is dissolved in water, it will give you a neutral solution of pH 7. That's what we have given you in the class. Aluminum chloride, whenever dissolved in water, it hydrolyzes, and because of that, it will give you an acidic solution of pH 1 to 3. Similarly, SiCl4 is also hydrolyzed with water because of the presence of empty d orbital, and therefore its pH is again 1 to 3. PCl5 um, also gives an acidic solution whenever placed in water. So it will give you an acidic solution of HCl and also phosphoric acid. So the pH range is going to be 2 to 4. All right. This all these three gives you a strong acidic solution of HCl. So you can write the same format of pH also. That's 1 to 3. Okay. That's not gonna get. That's not gonna be a problem in the paper for examiner. Okay. Bonding. NaCl is ionic, so I'm gonna write I. MgCl2 is ionic, I. AlCl3 is ionic. Really? Oh my goodness. Well, AlCl3 exhibit sp2 hybridization according to my lecture, right? So ionic is going to be the conceptual contradiction, because aluminum chloride is easily hydrolyzed with water because of the presence of vacant pz orbital. That indicates the aluminum chloride forms a covalent bond, and also it exhibits in dimer form in Al2Cl6, and that's the thing. But if it is solid, it's going to be ionic. Okay, but remember one thing: SiCl4 is covalent, represented by C. PCl5 is covalent, represented by C. Okay. Structure: giant, giant. Oh my goodness. I think examiner is saying I can use the abbreviation, but on the other hand, examiner is writing the entire statement. All right. So that's going to be the problem. Whether I need to write this abbreviations or either we need to write the whole thing. So examiner has written the whole thing, which means I can write the whole thing also. But let's talk about the abbreviations. Okay. SiCl4 is simple molecular. It is also simple molecular. Okay. Write an equation for the formation of AlCl3 from its elements. So that's easy. Aluminum is reacting with chlorine, converting into AlCl3. We have 3 chlorine atoms here. So I will write 3 here. Since we have 6 chlorine atom on the reactant side, to balance chlorine, I need to put 2 here. So I'll need to put 2 here also. Okay. So that is going to be the equation for the formation of AlCl3. Write an equation for the formation of H3PO4 from PCl5. So PCl5, when treated with water, it will turn to phosphoric acid. And the formula of phosphoric acid is H3PO4. and 5 moles of HCl. All right. So how many hydrogen atoms here? Altogether 8. So in order to balance hydrogen, I will put 4 here. So I hope equation is balanced now. S2Cl2 is a liquid, reacts with chlorine in a reversible reaction. Reversible reaction are those which moves both in the forward as well as in the backward direction. Moves in both direction. Also called two-way reactions, all right? That is forward and backward. Under certain conditions, dynamic equilibrium is established. What is meant by dynamic equilibrium? Uh, when rate of forward reaction equals to the rate of backward reaction, then it is called dynamic equilibrium. By the way, in dynamic equilibrium, concentration of reactant and product needs to be constant. So you can write the answer in that term also. Okay. So for dynamic equilibrium, concentration has to be constant, both for reactant and product. So you can write the answer in terms of concentration. Okay. Identify the condition necessary to establish dynamic equilibrium. It has to be in the closed container or closed system. So closed container, closed vessel is used to perform dynamic equilibrium. Okay. Next part of the question. S2Cl2 is yellow and SCl2 is red. That's very, very important observation. It is yellow and is red. And the forward reaction is exothermic. So forward reaction is exothermic, guys. Okay. So if forward reaction is exothermic, the reverse reaction needs to be endothermic. Let me check what sort of question is asking in this part. State what is observed when the following changes are made to equilibrium mixture of SCl2 liquid and SCl2. Explain your answer. The equilibrium mixture is warmed gently. So in an exothermic reaction, if you warm the mixture gently, technically you are increasing the temperature. So if you increase the temperature in exothermic reaction, equilibrium favors towards left hand side. If equilibrium favors towards left hand side, obviously the amount of S2Cl2 liquid is going to be more, and therefore the color observation should be yellow. Okay. So yellow color is observed. And the explanation for this is forward reaction is exothermic. So increasing the temperature favors equilibrium towards left hand side, just to absorb energy. Okay. The overall pressure of the equilibrium mixture is increased. Well, we have 1 mole. Well, for pressure, this reactants and products has to be in gaseous state, right? So in this scenario, we have 1 mole on the reactant side and we have 0 mole on the product side. So when you increase the pressure, equilibrium favors in that direction where we can have more number of moles, and obviously equilibrium favors towards if we increase the pressure, equilibrium favors in that direction where we can have less number of moles. Overall pressure of the equilibrium mixture is increased. Okay, so technically, equilibrium favors towards right hand side because of the less number of moles of gaseous molecule. So red color is observed. Oh, examiner is looking for the observation. Red color is observed. Increasing pressure favors equilibrium towards right hand side because of less number of gaseous molecule. Okay. Now in part F, aqueous MgCl2 reacts with aqueous sodium carbonate to form a white precipitates. That's called double displacement reaction, guys. We have magnesium sulfate in aqueous medium. It is reacting with sodium carbonate. Converting into magnesium carbonate and sodium chloride. Okay. So magnesium carbonate has a white precipitates because sodium chloride is soluble in water. Also, both these solutions are colorless solution. Both of them are soluble in water also. Okay. So magnesium carbonate is going to give you the white precipitates in this scenario. Upon heating, the white precipitates undergoes thermal decomposition. Construct an equation to show the reaction of aqueous MgCl2 with aqueous sodium carbonate. State symbols also required in the equation. Oh, that's easy. Magnesium chloride is aqueous according to examiner's statement, so it has to be aqueous medium. Sodium carbonate is also aqueous, NO2CO3. Magnesium carbonate is going to be the white precipitate, so precipitate has to be in solid form. And obviously sodium chloride is aqueous. Okay. So that's the balanced chemical equation. Identify the products of the thermal decomposition of white precipitates. When magnesium carbonate is decomposed on heating, delta naught is a heating sign. It will turn to magnesium oxide and carbon dioxide. So product of the thermal decomposition is going to be uh, magnesium oxide and carbon dioxide. The last part is state the trend in the thermal stabilities of group 2 carbonate down the group. Thermal stabilities down the group increases. So down the group, thermal stability increases. All right. So that's the end of question number 2. Let's move on to the next part. Next question. All right, everyone. Let's move on to the third question. Third question belongs to alkane, and alkane is my favorite also. Organic, in fact, is my favorite. Alkane are a homologous series of organic molecule. Alkanes are generally unreactive and are commonly used as fuels. Define homologous series. Homologous series you have done in O levels, and obviously you must remember this. Homologous series is basically a series which differs by CH2 group. CH2 group is also called methylene group. Okay. A series which differs by CH2 group and this series has a same general formula also, and also have a same chemical properties. Give two reasons to explain general unreactivity of alkane. Well, alkanes are also called paraffins. Paraffins means less reactive. And why? Because they don't have any functional group. And also, they have strong carbon-carbon. My bad. Hold on. They have a strong carbon-carbon. And carbon-hydrogen bond. Alkanes with low relative molecular mass are more useful than those found in heavier crude oil fractions. Name the process that is used to obtain alkanes with low MR from heavier crude oil fraction. So, heavier crude oil fraction gives you smaller MR fraction. That is going to be the cracking process. So cracking is a process in which longer chain alkanes gives you shorter chain alkanes with a lower MR. All right. Hexane has 4 structural isomers. By the way, during the lecture, I have given you the information regarding this also. The examiner can ask this question, and look, in November 2024, variance 22, he has asked the question, right? So let's talk about the isomerism, structural isomerism. Since alkane doesn't have any functional group, which is why alkane doesn't have any positional isomerism and functional isomerism. So we are looking for the chain isomerism only. So we have, examiner has given us 3 structures. Let me write this one: CH3, CH2, CH, CH3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one is 6. Okay. Uh, we can write this one: CH3, CH, CH3, and there's CH3, and we have another one which is CH3, CH, CH3, and then CH2, then CH2, and then CH3. We can write this one also: CH3, C, CH3, CH3. This is going to be CH2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one is 6. So I believe this is going to be the next chain isomer. 3, 4, 5, and this one is 6. Okay. So 3 isomers have written already. So I'm going to write these 2. Okay. And obviously, I'm going to write these 2 isomers in skeletal form. So it's going to be CH3, CH2. This is going to be CH, CH3, CH2, and then CH3. This one I have written CH3, CH2, CH, CH3, CH2, CH3. And I'm going to write this one also: CH, C, CH2, and then CH3. Okay. I hope it makes sense to you. That's what we have done in the class. We have made 5 isomers of hexane in the class, right? During the lecture. Next is complete figure 3.1. I have done that. A, B, and hexane have different boiling points. A, B, and hexane. A, B, and hexane have different boiling points. By the way, this compound has only one branch chain. This compound has 2 branch chain. So the greater the number of alkyl branches, the lower the surface area, the lower the boiling point, which means among these 3, B has the lowest boiling point. So B is the lowest boiling point. My bad. What's going on? Yeah. B is the lowest boiling point. Then A is relatively higher than B because of only one alkyl branch. And hexane has the highest boiling point because of the absence of alkyl branch. Okay. So let me explain this. Hexane has no alkyl branches. Largest surface area. So high boiling point. While as the number of alkyl branches increases. Surface area decreases. Surface area can also be um, can also be called point of contact. Okay. And also boiling point decreases. Let's move on to the next part of the question. My goodness. Hexane can be converted into compound E and F at high temperature and pressure. Okay. Shows the reaction involving hexane E and F. So enthalpy change of delta H1 is given, but enthalpy change of delta H2 is not given. Delta H3 enthalpy is not given. Identify a suitable reagent for reaction 3. So we have pi bond here, and we doesn't have any pi bond here, which means this molecule is going to be saturated. And for that, I'm going to use hydrogen gas. So that's basically hydrogenation process. And hydrogenation means addition of hydrogen. So I'm going to use hydrogen as a reagent, okay? Use the data in figure 3.2 and in table 3.1 to calculate the enthalpy change of reaction 2. So enthalpy change of formation data is given. And examiner is looking for step 2. So what we can do here is the formation data is given. So let me arrange this clockwise direction. Okay. Hmm. That's a tricky question.
Let's continue the question. Use the data in figure 3.2 and the table 3.1 to calculate the enthalpy change of reaction 2. Okay. Okay. So this is basically the Hassel law cycle because reaction takes place in one step. For more than one step, total amount of energy remains same. So I'm going to apply Hassel law on this cycle. But we need to determine the enthalpy change of reaction 2 because it's not given in the question. Enthalpy change of this reaction needs to be determined because it's not given in the question. So first we need to find out this value. After that, we can find the value of delta H2 through Hassel law cycle, okay? So formation data is given. All right. So if formation data is given, then we can write the structure like this. So determine the value that is going to be the delta H3. Formation data is given, which means Hausdorff cycle starts from constituent elements. So I need carbon and hydrogen. We have total 6 carbon and 12 hydrogen atoms altogether. So we have 6 carbon and 12 hydrogen atoms. Okay. So the formation of benzene is given, which is plus 48. And the formation of cyclohexane is also given, which is minus 156. So I'm going to apply Hausdorff cycle here. I mean, in the clockwise direction. So it's going to be delta H3 plus 48 minus 156 equals to 0, because we need to find out the delta H3. So the delta H3 is basically plus 48 plus 156 equals to 0. So let me check. So delta H3 is going to be minus 204 kilojoules per mole. Okay. So that's the first step. In the second step, I have to apply the Hausdorff cycle, because reaction takes place in one step or more than one step. Total amount of energy remains same. So I'm going to apply Hausdorff. So it's going to be delta H1 plus delta H3 equals to delta H2, because we need to find out the value of delta H2. Delta H1 is already given, which is 215 plus. Delta H3 is given minus 204. So I'm going to find out the value of delta H2. 215 minus answer is going to be plus 11. So delta H2 is going to be plus 11 kilojoules per mole. So plus 11 is going to be the right answer. Write an equation for the complete combustion of hexane. Whenever any hydrocarbon undergoes complete combustion, you will get carbon dioxide and water. So C6H14 is the molecular formula of hexane. When you treat it with oxygen, it undergoes complete combustion, and obviously it will turn to 6 moles of carbon dioxide and 7 moles of water. Now we have 6 times 2, 12, 12 plus 7, 19 oxygen. So to balance 19 oxygen, I'm going to write 19 upon 2, and 19 upon 2 is how much? 19 divided by 2 is going to be 9.5 oxygen. Okay. So 9.5 oxygen is the right answer.
Start with the next question. And then I think this question is going to be the last one. Figure 4.1 shows propane C3H8 can be converted into propanoic acid. So propane is basically converting into propanoic acid, and that's the reaction route. That's called organic synthesis. See, we have 3 carbon atom here, and see, we have 3 carbon atom also here. So there is no increase in the carbon atom, and that's a very precise sort of organic synthesis. But that's interesting. We have done this whole thing in the class, all right? Everything is given in the register, but let's see कि examiner क्या पूछा हमसे. Reaction 1 in figure 4.1 takes place in the presence of sunlight. If the reaction takes place in sunlight, it's going to be the free radical substitution reaction. The reaction takes place via initiation, propagation, and termination. Name the mechanism for this reaction. It's going to be free radical substitution reaction. All right. Complete the mechanism for reaction 1. Construct equations to describe the steps of the mechanism. Propagation 1. Propane is going to be the propagation. Okay. So we have C3H8. It's going to be react with chlorine radical, converting into HCl. And I'm going to get propyl free radical. Now in propagation 2, propyl free radical again react with chlorine molecule and converting into chloropropane, and chlorine radical is formed. Okay. You need to understand one thing, that in propagation 1, the carbon hydrogen bonds needs to be broken, and that hydrogen free radical combined with chlorine free radical to give HCl, and as a result you will get methyl free radical. Since we have very limited, oh my goodness, since examiner has given us this product, which means I cannot write the structure in that pattern. Okay, I have to write in the full format. That's crazy. My equations are correct, but I have to give the answer in a structural pattern. Okay, that is CH3, CH2, CH3 plus chlorine free radical will turn to HCl, and then I'm going to get methyl free radical like this: CH3, CH2, CH2 radical. All right. Now this methyl free radical reacts with chlorine molecule again, and as a result, it will turn to chloropropane and chlorine free radical, which will propagate the reaction. Termination. So for termination, the equation could be like this: that propyl free radical reacts with another chlorine radical, converting into chloropropane. And when chloropropane is formed, obviously, chain is going to be terminated. Okay. Reaction 1 is initiated by the bond fission of chlorine. State the type of bond fission shown in the initiation step. That's called homolytic fission, in which equal sharing of electron takes place. All right. Compound Q is the byproduct of reaction 1, name Q. So let me give the number of carbon atoms: 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3 from the left hand side also. So from both the side, the position of chlorine is same, which is why it's going to be 2 chloropropane. Okay. Oh, my bad. I didn't check this. My bad. This is first chlorine. This is second chlorine. So I'm going to go with the right hand side because the position of this chlorine is 1. The position of that chlorine is 2. So it's going to be 1 and 2 position. From the left hand side, the position is going to be 2 and 3. So I'm going to go with the right hand side because it will give you the close number of functional groups. All right. So it's going to be 1, 2 dash dichloro propane. My God, that's so easy. Part 5, the molecular formula. Q is this. Identify the type of structural isomerism and stereoisomerism that the molecule with molecular formula can show. So since we have two chlorine atoms, which means it's going to be either structural or specifically positional isomerism or optical isomerism. So let me handle this. This is CH3. This is CHCl. And this is CH2Cl. So that's basically 2, 3, and this one is 4. So it's basically optical isomerism. Okay. And if I'll change the position of chlorine, then I'll get positional isomerism. So in a structural, I'm going to write positional isomerism because I can change the position of chlorine atom in this. And that's the case we have discussed in our lecture, all right? You can even check isomerism topic in AS chemistry, okay? That's the optical isomerism. Let me draw the positional isomers. This is CH3, this is CH2, this is CH. I'm going to write both the chlorine atom with this carbon atom. Now I'll fix one chlorine and the other one I'm going to shift on this carbon atom. So it's going to be CH2Cl, right? I'm going to shift this chlorine onto this carbon atom. Okay, so I have discussed this sort of isomerism in class, and that's going to be positional isomerism, which is why I have written here. State the reagent and solvent required for reaction 2. Reaction 2. Okay. In the first step, chlorine gas is reacting in the presence of UV light, and that's your free radical substitution reaction. Instead of chlorine, we are getting OH, which means it's going to be NaOH under heat. That's nucleophilic substitution reaction, also called SN2. And this primary alcohol is turning into carboxylic acid. That means oxidation takes place. And for that, I'm going to write K2Cr2O7 in the presence of acidic medium under reflux condition. All right. So examiner is looking for the reagent for reaction 2. So I'm going to write NaOH and water because examiner is looking for the solvent. So solvent is going to be water. You can even write ethanol also, okay? Reaction 3 takes place when ethanol is heated under reflux with acidified potassium dichromate 6 solution. That's what I've told you, right? State the color change that takes place orange to green because potassium dichromate has an orange color. When it involved in the reaction, it will turn into green. And green color, chromium 3 ions has a green color, okay? Construct an equation to represent reaction 3 using oxygen atom to represent this. So basically it's CH3, CH2, CH2OH. Potassium bichromate is an oxidizing agent. No, all oxidizing agent represented by atomic oxygen or nascent oxygen. This is going to be atomic oxygen or nascent oxygen. It is going to be converted into propanoic acid, which is CH3, CH2, COOH. C, this CH3 will remain as it is. This CH2 will remain as it is. Now this CH2 is turning into COOH. So how many hydrogen atoms here? 3. And how many hydrogen atoms here? 1. So 2 hydrogen atoms react with 1 oxygen atom and turning into water. All right. Now let's check oxygen. How many oxygen we have? 2 plus 1, 3. We have 1 oxygen already. So to balance 3, I need to put 2 here. Okay. I hope it makes sense to you. My goodness. Next part of the question. Propanoic acid reacts with unsaturated alcohol R to form unsaturated ester S. State the type of reaction that forms S. Esterification or condensation? Because water is lost during the formation of ester. So condensation or esterification? Okay. The infrared spectrum S is shown in figure 4.2. 3 absorptions in the infrared spectrum, figure 4.2 should confirms that S is an ester and it's unsaturated. If it is unsaturated, obviously it must have double bond between the carbon atom. And it must have double bond between the carbon atom, which means the infrared frequency appears at 1650 centimeter inverse roughly, all right? Write 1, 2, or 3 on figure 4.2 against each of these 3 absorptions. Since ester has this type of functional group, which means this functional group has carbonyl peak, which normally appears between 1700 and 1720 centimeter inverse. This ester functional group has CO bond, in which peak appear at 1100 centimeter inverse to 1200 centimeter inverse, according to my lecture. So this is 1600, 1700, this is 1750. Bond responsible, C double bond O. ये 1 है, ओके। ये कार्बोनाइल को शो कर रही है, and this is 2, that represents alkene, which appears at 1650 centimeter inverse. And the third one is this one, that represents CO, and it usually appears from 1100 to 1200 centimeter inverse. So C single bond O, that is the range. So yeah, I can write that. Let me check. This is 1100, this is 1140 something or 1150. So let me write 1150 roughly centimeter inverse, okay? I hope it makes sense to you. That's an easy question, guys. Last, the mass spectrum S shows the following peaks. Use table 4.3 to calculate the number of carbon atoms in S. Number of carbon atom in S, we need to apply the formula 100 over 1.1. Abundance of M plus 1 peak, which is given in the question, and abundance of molecular ion peak, which is again in the question. So 100 over 1.1, abundance of M plus 1 peak is 0.31, and abundance of molecular ion peak is 4.7. So the number of carbon atom is going to be 6. All right, that's the end of this question number 4. Let's move on to the next question. That's the end of this paper, guys. Thank you very much.